I calmly killed a wolf in the forest. For me, it was just another ordinary day, but I'm no ordinary hunter. I'm a notorious lupine slayer, the one who hunts down those monsters. Until that day, under the cold moonlight, I saved a little girl who was almost torn apart by the wolves. When I saw the terror and clarity in her eyes, I suddenly started to wonder, are all the werewolves really worth killing? Chapter 1 𝐊𝐢𝐬𝐷𝐞𝐝𝐬. I inhaled deeply, centering myself as I drew back the bowstring with practiced ease. My eyes scanned the forest, alert for any movement. Patience rewarded me as a medium. Sized brown wolf emerged from the underbrush. With a controlled exhale, I released the arrow. It whistled through the air, finding its mark with deadly precision. The wolf, one of the many abominations plaguing these woods, crumpled to the ground, shouldering my bow. I pressed on, moving silently deeper into the dense foliage. The snap of a twig nearby sent a jolt through me, but I quickly regained my composure. With fluid motions born from countless hours of training, I retrieved another arrow from my quiver. Pressing my back against a gnarled oak, I scanned the surroundings, my senses on high alert. Unable to pinpoint the source of the disturbance, I cautiously stepped away from my cover, tightening my grip on the bough as I steadied my breathing. Without warning, a hand clamped over my mouth. Panic and fury surged through me in equal measure. Acting on instinct, I stomped down hard on my assailant's foot. A hiss of pain rewarded my efforts as the hand withdrew. I spun around, 𝐊𝐢𝐬𝐷𝐞𝐝 drawn, ready to unleash it at my attacker's head. My eyes narrowed as recognition dawned. What the hell? Go! I spat, my heart still racing. Joe, twirling his silver knife with infuriating nonchalance, flashed me his trademark smirk. Well, hello to you, too, Princess Hailey. You scared the crap out of me. I thought you were, I began, but he cut me off mid-sentence. The alpha. I know, Joel chuckled, clearly amused by his own cleverness. But you won't find him here. Despite the average size of a wolf brain, he is smart. I rolled my eyes, exasperated by his playful demeanor in such a tense situation. Well then, where is he? I demanded, lowering my bow but keeping the arrow no-ked. Waiting for you at your apartment. Most likely. Joel shrugged. His casual tone belied the gravity of the information. Although, I do have a question for you. Yeah, what's that? I replied, my voice carrying a hint of challenge. Why is the arrow still pointed at my head? He questions, gesturing to my bow that I held in my hand. String pulled back, an arrow pointed directly at him. Because I'd aunt like you. I replied nonchalantly before lowering the bow and slinging it on my shoulder. Arrow back in place and the quiver slung diagonally over my shoulders and across my back, plucking a knife from my belt. I examined the sleek, silver blade before turning to Joel. Let's go. He nodded and followed me as I led the way out of the woods, past quite a few dead wolves as well. It was the last day in Michigan, meaning we had to finish the pack completely. Now only the alpha remained. Sliding into the car with my bow and arrows in the trunk, I reached over Joel and grabbed my gun from the glove compartment, sliding it into the waistband of my jeans and pulling my jacket down to conceal it. Speeding down the dark roads, I sloppily parked at the base of the small apartment building I lived in with David, our trainer. Jumping out, I immediately tore inside the building, ignoring the look the front counterman was giving me, and dashed up the stairs, not patient enough to wait for the elevator. When I reached my floor, I slowed to a walk, evened out my heartbeat. Taking my keys, I unlocked the door and pushed it open, finding myself in a completely dark room. David should be home right now. Pulling out my knife, I crept through the dark, short hallway, freezing at the sight in front of me. David was taped to a kitchen chair, blood on his temple and his head hanging down. He was unconscious, tightening my grip on the blade. I glanced around the room before cautiously walking over to him and cutting him free. I was working on the last bind. His right foot, when I was thrown into a wall. The knife ripped from my grip. Groaning, I rubbed my head and looked up to see the alpha staring at me. Growling viscous lie. He himself looking slightly crazed. Perhaps it's because his entire pack is now dead. Standing up, I masked my nerves and fear with a taunting smirk. Did you come here to kill me? Alpha, he growled. I'm going to rip your throat out with my teeth and leave your body on display hanging from a flagpole. You know, I think that's the most creative death threat I've ever received. I replied simply, the arrogant smirk never leaving my face as I tried to egg him on. I can't blame you though. I mean, I did kill all of your friends. Your pack member, oh, and that brown wolf earlier. Wasn't that your sister? Jessica, or something. Right. With a snarl, he lunged at me, claws extended, side stepping. He only managed to nick my arm. Pulling out my gun, I aimed it at him, shooting once, hitting him square in the shoulder. He hissed in pain, the silver burning him. Reloading, I aimed and hit him in the leg, taking him down to one knee. It takes 3 bullets to take down an alpha, 1 to the shoulder, 1 to the leg, and a final 1 to the heart. My final bullet hit its mark and within seconds, a dead alpha eyes in the middle of my apartment. Sighing, I holstered the gun back into my waistband and shook my head. The blood was getting on the white rug. The door burst open and in strolled Joel, a lazy smile on his face. Gee, thanks for the backup. I snapped sorry. He smirked at my anger. Anytime, princess. Will you two stop bickering and help me up? David groaned, coming back to the world of consciousness. Your fault for getting tied up and knocked unconscious. I sang, grinning as I watched Joel help David up, supporting him by throwing his arm over his shoulder. David sneered at me. For your information, it went the other way around. Chuckling, I ignored him and made my way into my room. It was empty, the walls plain and barren. Nothing there but a few bags that held my clothes and other necessities. Stripping out of the sweaty, muddy and bloody clothes I was wearing, I changed into one of my usual inconspicuous dresses, this one floral, before grabbing all of my bags and walking out into the living room, ready to go. I questioned David, who was cleaned up and standing on his own now. He nodded and picked up his own bags, holding open the apartment door for me. Stepping out, we made our way downstairs and into my car, speeding down to the airport. I liked to speed Sumi. Parking, we were rushed to get into the airport and through security. We just barely made it onto the plane. I hate planes. David grumbled and gripped the armrest tightly, his face paling as we took off. I laughed. A badass werewolf hunter and you're afraid of planes. I kept my voice down, so as to make sure no one else heard, but there really weren't many other people on the plane anyways. Shut up, he grumbled, but he was still stiff and still as the plane traveled. I chuckled at his stature before curling up in a ball. It's gonna be a long ride from Michigan to California. I could feel the California heat the second we stepped off the plane. It was humid and muggy, and with a sigh, I threw up my curly, long brown hair into a loose ponytail. I turned to David. Any clue what our living situation is going to be? He shrugged. Honestly, I have no clue. I'm just looking for Michael. He said 𝐻ED meet us here with 2 men for a status update and to give us our new job. Rolling my eyes, I hitched my bag higher up on my shoulders and continued dragging my suitcases behind me as we made our way to the front doors of the airport. It was relatively small. At least it seemed like it to me. There, David suddenly said, pointing at 2 men on either side of Michael, an aging man with slight anger management issues who also ran the hunting company that David and I belonged to. Strolling over to them as casually as possible, David and I both straightened our backs and professionally composed ourselves. Status? Michael questions in a monotone voice as usual. Completely eradicated. David replies and I nod my head in confirmation when Michael turns to look at me. The man nods. Good. You 2 will be residing in a small town here and beautiful. Northern California known as Brookside. It's a quaint two-story house, and the best part is it's only a mile away from the pack house. We nodded in understanding. Go then. Here are the keys to your cars that are currently parked in the parking garage. Instructions for the job and how to get to the house in them. Haley, you'll be attending Brookside High School, and David, you'll be working at the local diner. Are you too good from here? Michael remains collected and stoic through his description of our lives here in Brookside, and I have to refrain from rolling my eyes when he tells me he'll be going to high school. I'm a werewolf killer. Please tell me why high school is necessary for my job. Instead, we accept the keys graciously and eventually find our cars. David's a sleek Cadillac, while I had a navy blue sedan. Throwing my stuff in, I followed David, and we eventually came to a stop in front of a cute yellow house. Hopping out of the car, I joined David with helping set up the house and organizing our things. When we finished, I sighed and plopped down onto the brown couch next to him. We just sat there in silence, accepting and absorbing the fact that we would be in California for the next few months. Chapter to Chase's POV. Pushing myself further, I finished my 251st push-up before rolling over on my back, taking in deep breath. A shadow passed over me, and I looked up to see my beta, Luke, standing next to me with an outstretched hand. He was completely drenched in sweat, as was I, so I took his hand and let him help me to my feet. Give yourself a break. We have school in 20 minutes. He tells me, and I nod. We parted ways, and I took a shower, relaxing my muscles and rinsing the sweat off of me. Stepping out, I wasn't sure what possessed me to dress nicely in a casual blue button-down with the sleeves rolled up to my elbows and nice dark jeans. But I put them on nonetheless and tousled my hair, purposely messing it up a little bit. Jogging down the steps, I found Lily, my sister, and Luke waiting for me. My sister raised an eyebrow at me, looking me up and down. I mocked her facial expression. Can I help you? Just wondering why you decided to dress up. She shrugs, pursing her lips, rolling my eyes. I shouldered my book bag. Okay. Sure. Let's get going. Sure. Lily pipes, dropping off of her stool and skipping out the front door. I'm about to follow her, but Luke stops me. Have you heard from 𝐿𝐴𝐺𝐿? Last we heard he had a hunter problem. Have you heard from him? He questions. I shake my head, furrowing my eyebrows at the mention of the alpha from Michigan. No, I haven't heard from him. You go out with Lily and I'll give him a call. He nodded. All right. Walking to my office, I looked up 𝐿𝐴𝐺𝐿𝐵's back house number and dialed, waiting for someone to pick up. It rang probably 10 times before it went to voicemail. Waiting for the tone, I left a message. 𝐿𝐴𝐺𝐿. It's Alpha Chase from the Blackfire Pack. I'm just checking up with the hunter problem. Give me a call when you can. All right. Thanks and have a good day. Hanging up, I made my way to the car, sliding into the driver's seat to find Lily glaring at Luke, who was sitting in the passenger seat, my twin sister sitting in the middle of the back seat. I gave them a questioning look. And what's going on in here? Luke kicked me out of the front seat. She pouted, crossing her arms over her chest. Honestly, if Luke was my beta and Lily was my sister, it'd say that they would be cute mates. His birthday is in a month or two, so I guess we'll find out then. But 𝐿𝐴𝐺𝐿 as a player and she said I hard help was romantic, I'm just really not sure about them. Turning to Luke, I gave him a really look before addressing Lily. That sucks, Lil. She turned her glare to me and smacked me hard on the shoulder and then smacked Luke for laughing when I swore, rubbing my arm. Damn it, woman. I'm driving here, I exclaimed, looking at her through the rearview mirror, giving me a smug look. She shrugged innocently. I guess Sultan had been ejected from the front seat. Luke rolled his eyes, but thankfully I parked into my usual parking space, saving us boys from any more of Lilith's abuse. Speaking of the devil, the second the car was parked, she ran off to find Rebecca. I'm sure, which was where Luke and I would most likely find Josh, my Gamma third in command. My guess was confirmed when I found Lily and Rebecca chatting animatedly while Josh stared at his mate. Rebecca, with adoration clear in his eyes. "Earth to lover boy," I called out with a smirk on my face, making him drop his gaze and look up at me, a fake scowl on his face. Luke laughed beside. "If you stared at her any longer, your eyes would burn up from not blinking. What's so wrong with staring at what's mine?" He questions before grabbing Rebecca by the waist, spinning her around and smashing his lips onto hers. "Get a room," Luke and I both hollered, fake gagging and walking away. Over to first period. I had every class with Luke, and some with Josh, Lily and Rebecca. But Luke was the only person I had the exact same schedule as, taking a seat. I listened to Luke talk about the number of girls he hooked up with at some party Friday night. There was this blonde in I swear to you she was a goddess. And get this, she came up to me and grabbed me by the collar, dragged me upstairs where I had the kinkiest. "I don't want to hear it anymore." I cut him off, holding up my hand. He laughed loudly, turning a couple heads, but they immediately looked away when they saw it was Luke and I. It was well known that it's considered rude to butt into an alpha or beta's conversation. Not like I cared. Us werewolves have extended hearing for a reason. Right. Just then, Lily walked into the class, sitting down behind me. "Have you heard yet?" "Heard what?" I was confused, furrowing my eyebrows and trying to figure out what big juicy piece of gossip my sister was excited about now. She rolled her eyes at me. "Honestly, for an alpha you're so out of the loop. There's a new girl." This piqued Luke's interest, as he leaned in. "Is she hot?" Listening around the room, I realized that's all anyone was talking about. "She's really pretty," Lily says, giving Luke a pointed look, especially for a human. I raised both eyebrows. "One tiny Hunan in a school full of giant werewolves." She nodded. "Don't worry, Beck. Josh and I have already befriended her. She's with them now, and I doubt anyone's stupid enough to do anything because practically the entire school knows there's a new human girl." "Good." I nod and she just nods in response. The bell rings and everyone begrudgingly turns around in their seats to listen to the lecture of the day in math class, freaking AP calculus. Throughout all of the morning classes, the only talk I've heard has been about the new girl and how hot she was. Ratings were being spread around. I gathered that she was between an 8 and a 9. 9, there's always room for improvement, plus the only 10 should be your mate. The lunch bell finally rang and I sighed in relief, slamming my history book shut as I my things and walked to my locker with Luke. "Have you seen this new girl yet?" I question him, shutting my locker. He shakes his head. "Nah, but I've heard she's like a total babe." Nodding, I purse my lips, wondering why I wanted to punch my beta for saying that. Mentally pushing it aside, we made our way to the cafeteria and took a seat at our usual table. Rebecca, Josh and Lily still not here yet. Sitting down with my food, I began to dig into my burger and Luke did the same with his. Lifting my bottled water to my lips, I froze as the most intoxicating smell hit my nose. It was alluring, making me freeze to the spot as my brain struggled to form a proper thought. It smelled like strawberries in summer, light and airy and sweet. Furrowing my eyebrows, I set down my water and turned my head to look around the cafeteria. Ignoring the look Luke was sending me full of concern and confusion. "Dude, are you okay?" He questions but I don't answer. Instead, I look straight ahead to see that behind Rebecca and Josh is the most beautiful brunette I've ever seen walking next to my sister, a smile gracing her perfect pink lips. They reach our table, the mated couple in the front sitting down. Lily smiled, glancing at the girl. "Chase, Luke, this is Haley. She's new and will be sitting with us for lunch." Haley turns to Luke, who gives her a charming smile. "Hi, I'm Luke. I was going to murder him." Haley, she gives him a shy smile, shaking his hand. She pulled it back before he could do his classic hand-kiss move. Turning to me, the smile drops slightly from her face and I meet her gorgeous chocolate brown eyes for the very first time. "Mate." Chapter 3 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐬𝐷. I stared at myself in the reflection, smoothing down the white summer dress I was wearing, rolling my jean jacket sleeves up to my elbows. I inspected my face and hair. I wasn't wearing that much makeup, just mascara, eyeliner, and a little bit of lip gloss in my long, curly hair was left down in ringlets that framed my face, reaching all the way down to my mid-back. Sighing, I walked out of the bathroom and back across the hall to my bedroom, where I pulled on my brown combat boots and slung my book bag over my shoulder. Taking my sweet time, I made my way downstairs and into the kitchen where David was waiting, a staff shirt for the local diner, Sam's, adorning his torso. "How's my little senior?" he cooed, mocking me. Scowling, I stole his apple and took a bite. "Terrible." He rolled his eyes, grabbing another apple from the basket. "And why are you terrible?" "Because I have to go to school, which is filled with werewolves, and I can't even kill them there. Plus, I'm sick of all the homework." I grumbled. "Can't I just be a full-time, grown-up hunter like you?" "Not till you're 18. Little witch, little one." He smirked, tapping my nose, scrunching it. I flipped him off, making him laugh, before turning on my heel and making my way to my car, slipping in and following my piss directions to Brookside High School. Pulling into the parking lot, I pulled into a parking spot that was the farthest away, didn't want to take anyone's spot and piss them off on my first day. Sliding out, I kept my head held high as I walked into a building, ignoring the confused stares people were giving me. Pushing open the door to the main office, I found a secretary with straight blonde hair who seemed to be in her early 40s smiling at me. "You must be 𝐊𝐢𝐲𝐼𝐷. Am I correct?" she asks, though I'm sure she already knew the answer to that. I only nodded. She smiled. "All right. I have your schedule right here and a map of the school. Don't be shy to come in and ask for help. I'm always here. Oh, and don't be nervous around the other students. If they look at you, it's only because we never really get new students." "All right. Thanks." I flashed her a smile before snatching my papers and heading out the door, easily finding my locker. I placed my things in and jumped when I shut it and found 2 girls and a guy standing there. The girl in the front grinning widely and sort of like a maniac. "Hi, I'm Lily," the one smiling greeted. I warily stuck out a hand to shake. "I'm Haley." Ignoring my hand, she pulled me in for a hug and I tensed slightly. She chuckled, pulling away. "Sorry, it's just that I'm more of a hugger." Awkwardly, I laughed it off. "You're fine." "Hey, I'm Rebecca." The girl standing behind Lily greeted me, shaking my hand unlike her energy-filled friend. "And this is my boyfriend, Josh." Was it just me? Or was she going to say mate? Total werewolf alert. "Nice to meet you," Josh said, but made no move to make any contact with me, and for that I was grateful. "So what classes do you have?" she questions, but doesn't exactly let me answer, seeing as though she snatches my schedule from me and reads it. All right. So you have first period with Josh and Rebecca. Second period you're with me. Third period you're with Beck and I. Fourth period you're with Josh and I, and fifth period is lunch. Oh, and all of your afternoon classes are with my twin brother and his best friend." I nodded, trying to absorb everything she was rambling about, but to be honest, it wasn't exactly the easiest thing to keep track of what she was saying. Instead, I reverted to the simple smile lightly and nod method. "Oh my God. Lily, shut up. You're talking the girl's ear off," Josh exclaimed, his arm secured tightly around Rebecca's waist, who chuckled. Lily glared at the pair. "Whatever. Guys, I gotta go. First period is on the other side of school. Bye, Haley." Bye," I offered weakly, waving as she sauntered down the hall, many people moving out of the way for her as she walked by. "Just excited to meet you," Rebecca explained to me. "I promise she's not as much work as she seems." I laughed a little and Josh scoffed. "As if. That girl's a piece of work. I tell ya." Rebecca rolled her eyes at her boyfriend. "You talk as if you're a 70-year-old man." You know, you wound me. He mocks hurt, covering his heart with his hand, and she laughs. You guys are adorable. I gush, but I don't even believe me. I sounded so fake and I was surprised they didn't pick up on it. Instead, Rebecca blushed and Josh grinned, swinging their intertwined hands with extra enthusiasm, suddenly deciding if we didn't leave Mo we'd be late. Rebecca dragged both Josh and I to first period. History. Great. First class of the day, and I'm already going to be bored out of my mind. Plus, it was just regular history. It was freaking AP history. Why was I even in advanced placement? It's probably Michael or David's fault. Walking into the classroom, a young woman, no older than 25, stood at the front of the room and smiled at me. You must be the new student. Haley, am I correct? I nodded. Care to introduce yourself? It's meant to be a question, but the way she says it makes me feel as though it's an assignment and I have to introduce myself. Taking in a deep breath, I recited the speech I had practiced last night. Hi. My name's 𝐊𝐢𝐬𝐬. I just moved here from Michigan and that's about it. Thank you. Haley. Miss Jones smiled. You can take a seat next to Rebecca. Sighing in relief, I sat next to her, returning the smile that she gave me. Miss Jones took the podium. Now back in the early ed years, there was a very famous ruler during the years of the Greek Empire. Does anyone know who this person was? I rested my chin on the palm of my hand. I knew the answer. It was pretty obvious, but I didn't raise my hand. Instead, I sat and doodled on my notebook. The bell rang and I made my way to classes with Rebecca, Lily, and Josh, meeting a few new people along the way. My routine was starting into the classroom, meet the teacher, greet the class with my rehearsed speech, take a seat in class and pretend to pay attention to the teacher as they repeated lectures I had heard junior year at my old school. I was seriously despising the word equation by the end of fourth period, a P-calc, and was tempted to just shoot Mr. Biggs when the bell rang, saving me from any more grueling math. Lily hooked my arm with hers and grinned. You're sitting with us at lunch. Do I have a choice? I asked jokingly. Nope, she exclaimed, popping the P, and I laughed at her response. There were many pairs of eyes on us as we walked into the cafeteria, but they quickly looked away when Lily glared at them. I raised an eyebrow at her. Are they scared of you or something? Probably scared I'll cut them with my fake nails. She shrugs, holding up her bright red nails, and I laughed even more. Even if she was a werewolf, the girl was funny. All right. So we're sitting with Rebecca, Josh, my brother and his street friend. It's normally just us, but I'll make an exception for you, she tells me with a wink. Chuckling, I glanced at her. Gee, thanks. I feel so honored. Good. She nods to herself and we laugh. We came to a stop in front of a rectangular table in the middle of the cafeteria, and Rebecca and Josh were already seated. Chase, Luke. This is Haley. Chesnu and will be sitting with us for lunch. Louis speaks to the two boys. I'm assuming they're Chase and Luke. I turn to the boy to the right, with short, dark brown hair, brown eyes, and dimples that popped out when he gave me a charming smile. Hi, I'm Luke. Haley. I give him a shy smile, shaking his hand, pulling my hand back. I turned to face the boy on the left and froze. I cowled and breathed. His hair was this perfect caramel color and curly. His eyes just drew me, and his face was perfectly sculpted, and I could tell there was serious muscle underneath the blue button-up shirt he was wearing. Pull yourself together, Haley, snapping out of it. I plastered a smile back on my face. I'm Haley. I'm Chase. He breathes out, offering his hand, cautiously taking it. I shook it and failed to hold in the gasp when I felt the tingles that shot up my arms and down my body through my fingertips. Sitting down at the table in between Rebecca and Lily, I cowled and stopped my mind from wandering back to Chase. What was that? Chapter 4 Chase's P. Oh, after lunch I ditched school. It was like I'd be able to focus anyways. I had just found my main, she was 𝐊𝐼𝐼𝐬𝐵. 𝐊𝐼𝐧𝐼𝐼. Chef's perfect. My wolf purred inside of me and I groaned, rubbing my temples. He was right though. She was absolutely perfect. Her shining brown eyes, curly brown hair, high cheekbones, her beautiful smile and the dimples that popped out. And her smell. God, I couldn't get enough of her. So no. I was really upset that she was a human more than I was afraid. What would she say when she finds out? Because eventually, she will find out. I just know it. When I reached the woods, I shifted into my large, shimmering black wolf and shook out my fur. It had only been a day since I last shifted, but it felt like it had been ages, taking off at first at a slow, paced run. I stepped in with patrol and ran the border, at just the perfect pace. But as images of her, of 𝐊𝐼𝐬, ran through my mind, I ran faster, my wolf getting excited and trying to take control. I pulled the reins back in, but kept running at a sprint. It helped to clear my head a bit. Suddenly, with all of my force, I smacked into something. A tree. No, I know my way around here all too well. I mean in the alpha for God's sake. Straightening my head, I found myself looking into the eyes of a muddy brown wolf. I growled at him. He lunged at me, which was a big mistake. I swatted him with my front paw and sent him flying into the tree behind him. Unsurprisingly, he got back up and snarled at me, loading on his hind legs. If I were in human form, I would roll my eyes at him. When he leapt at me again, I snapped at him, grasping his leg in my teeth and throwing him on the ground. A pathetic rogue was no match for an alpha, especially not the alpha of Fire Pack, the strongest pack in America. He whimpered, and I'm sure that it finally hit him he was going to die. I ended him quickly, chomping through his neck a single bite. He let out a whine before collapsing on the ground, dead. I sent out for someone to burn his body. Rogues don't deserve respect, especially not if th trespass and challenge me. Maybe had he shifted back and apologized profusely I would let him live, but then that's just wishful thinking on his part. Finally, a pack member showed up and nodded at me, a jug of gasoline in one hand and a lighter in the other. I nodded back at him, still in wolf form, before taking off again. I still had to finish my patrol route. Just about 70 more yards until I was finished when suddenly I felt a searing pain on my front leg that forced me to stop. Looking down, I assessed my leg but couldn't find an injury or any damage to it. Snorting, I continued but once again fell short when growling hit my ears. I stood still, perking my ears to try and hear it again, but nothing. I couldn't see anyone or thing around me. Couldn't even hear the faint pitter-patter of a heartbeat. It must be came from farther away. I made to turn around and continue my rounds. And then, the message through the pack link. Alpha, there's a hunter. It was Michelle, the omega of the pack. And while she was the weakest, she was definitely stronger than regular pack members of other packs. Racing through the woods to find her, I followed her scent, getting closer and closer to her. But every time I thought I was near her, I would catch her scent coming from the other direction. I was completely and utterly confused. Nothing like this has ever happened before. Me confusing a scent. I mean, we've had hunters. Believe me, the damn abominations all but ruined my life, snarling at even the thought of a hunter on my land. I found a renewed vigor inside of me to find and help Michelle, and killing the idiot hunter. I followed her scent trail and wound up at a tree, only to find nothing there. Growling in frustration, I took a different path, this time leading me to a cluster of bushes. Huffing, I continued the same pattern, taking different trails only to come up short. A hell pierced the air and I locked in on it, running and following it, as well as the final scent trail of Michaela's. Finally, I found her, in a clearing where her smaller gray wolf was lying in the middle, an arrow piercing her heart. I growled, furious. A hunter had taken the life of one of my pack members. He was surely going to pay. I howled, I howled, and many wolves howled back, understanding that it meant we had lost a member, a friend, a part of our family. Shifting back to my human form, I pulled the arrow from her, hissing as the silver touched my skin, dropping to my knees. I frowned at her, shaking my head. I tried to get a scent, to help track down the hunter, but I found nothing. Luke came up to me and growled when he saw her. "Hunters." I nodded. "I can't get a scent." "Can you?" he asked. "No," I answered, growling. "But when we catch him, I'm going to rip his throat out with my teeth." I turned and walked away from the deceased member of my pack. I was going to stay true to my word. I will find the son of a bitch hunter who dared to mess with me and kill my pack member, and I will kill him, torturing him first. I'll have him begging for death, and just when he's close to getting AWA or surviving, I'll drag my claws across his throat and watch as he drops dead to the ground, clutching his crimson neck for dear life. Chapter 5. Haley. After the odd occurrence at lunch, by which I mean the strange attraction that I had towards the tall, built, curly brown-haired, blue-eyed hunk of a guy, shaking the thought out of my head, I shivered in disgust at the thoughts that were unwillingly running around my head. Lily, who I had found out was Chase's twin sister, shook her head in disdain at the empty seat in front of her as we sat in chemistry. "Chase has once again skipped class," she muttered, folding her arms over her chest. Just hearing his name made me feel all tingly inside. Mentally groaning, I lowered my head onto my desk. What the hell is getting into me? 𝐊𝐢𝐬𝐧𝐼, baddest hunter known as Artemis, for fuck's sake. I shouldn't be feeling about this for a boy, especially not a werewolf. I didn't have any confirmation that he was one, but it was kind of obvious with his build and his sister. Lily has got to be a werewolf, the way she talks. Oh yeah, finally, after a miserable and useless afternoon filled with chemistry, calculus and history, I was free to go home. I sped out of the school, itching to get out of this dress and into some more comfortable clothes, specifically my leather hunting gear. When I got back to the quaint yellow house, I found it to be empty. A white post-it note sticking to the fridge. Of course, David knew that it would be the first place I went to. I grabbed a water bottle and sipped from it, making my way up the stairs and into my room. Slowly, I stripped out of my clothes, muscles still tense from my jet lag. I made my way into my closet and smiled. The house was well prepared for David and I. It had a hidden door in the closet where I kept my personal hunting gear and weapons. Pulling the leather jacket and pants from the hanger, I pulled them on, a soft smile making its way onto my face at the familiar comfort. But as I gained comfort, Chase's face flashed in my mind and I was suddenly feeling nervous and giddy again. Groaning, I made my way to the bathroom, pulling my hair to the side and fashioned it into a simple side braid. I then went back to the closet, picking up the bottle camouflaged to look like perfume, when in reality it was scent masking spray. Coating myself in it, I placed it back on the shelf when I was done with it. Slipping on my black hunting boots, I wiggled my toes in them, the feeling giving me a sense of being home. Picking up my bow and quiver filled with arrows, I slung them both over my shoulder, holstering my gun to my side, and an array of knives were tucked away, safely concealed. With one more spritz of the scent masking spray, I made my way outside, double-checking to make sure there was no one around to see me. I sprinted into the foliage, allowing it to conceal me, and made my trek deeper into the woods, all the while doing my best to maintain my sense of direction. It wasn't my plan to hunt anyone today, just to scout the land and get my bearings around here. I knew Michigan so well, I was born and raised there, but Michael said that the boss needed us in California. So here we are. I frowned at the thought of the boss. No one knows exactly who he is other than Michael and a few other inside hunters. All that we are told is that he's the top hunter around and pays the bills and signs our paychecks. I found myself in a clearing and looked up. The sun directly above me. It was perfectly aligned, and I figured in about 10 minutes it would be once again an elegant, The wind seemed to swirl in every direction, and the clearing and the trees surrounding me all had such beautiful, vibrant green leaves hanging from them. The sound of twigs cracking and leaves rustling brought me out of the beauty of nature in still trance, and I whirled around, coming to face a gray wolf. She seemed just a little smaller than an average werewolf, but with her weaker snarl, I could tell she was the 𝐊𝐵𝐻, the weakest member of the pack. I swore. Shit. She jumped at me and eyed it out of the way, hissing in pain as her claws scraped my arm. The same arm that damn alpha in Michigan cut, and she ruined my jacket. Glancing down, I saw it shredded and my wound reopened. The she-wolf wasted no time and charged again, pulling a knife. All I could do was slice her snout with the pure silver blade, but it was enough to make her howl and stagger back in surprise. Cursing that she had howled, I quickly got my bow and strung an arrow, pulling back and releasing within a few seconds. She collapsed to the ground when the silver arrow had hit her, lodging itself in her stomach. Nodding to myself in approval at my own work, I froze as I heard someone approaching. No, something. I could make out for paws, which meant another werewolf. Turning, I scrambled up one of the trees, my bow back over my shoulder. Taking a look at my wound, I prayed no blood got on the ground while I was down there, and wrapped it with cloth that was already sprayed to be sent less. Sure enough, a large black wolf showed up, and suddenly I felt as though I had to jump down from the high branch I was perched on and love that wolf as opposed to loathing it. Shaking the thought from my head, I took in the appearance of the wolf. It was masculine. Definitely a man and his size. Well, he was the biggest wolf I've ever seen. He was, no doubt, the alpha. I scrunched my nose as I watched his bones snap and morph, and he was back in his human body, in all of his naked glory, and I nearly found myself drooling. He howled at the sight of her dead body, hurt by the loss of a pack member. They were like family to each other. I killed families of wolves all the time, but it was like it affected me. They killed my family. I'm just returning the favor. Snapping myself out of my dark thoughts, I looked back down to the alpha, to Chase. He knelt down by her side, pulling the arrow out of her, hissing as the silver met his skin. Minutes later, Luke, one of the boys I had sat with at lunch, Chase's best friend, showed up, handing him a pair of shorts. He must be the beta. "A hunter's?" he asked Chase, who only nodded. After a lengthy pause, Luke spoke again. "I can't catch a scent. Can you?" "No," 𝐻𝐻𝐻 growled fiercely. "But when we find him, I'm going to rip his throat out with my teeth." He turned and walked away, leaving Luke to frown down at the corpse of the 𝐿𝐵𝐻. I smirked in accomplishment. They 𝐿𝐻𝐻𝐻 catch a scent. 𝐿𝐻𝐻𝐻 even sensed me watching them from the trees. I was the most humble hunter out there, although I couldn't help but roll my eyes at the male pronouns. Werewolves and their assumptions that all werewolf hunters are men. Well, I guess that's right, except for me. Well, there was my mom, but she's dead. They killed her. So now it's just me, and I'm going to kill every last one of them, just like I did in Michigan. So long as these strange emotions towards Chase don't get in my way. I assured myself they wouldn't, that I've trained hard. But as I crept back to the house, hidden in the shadows, I couldn't help but feel the first bit of doubt I've felt in 3 years. Chapter 6. I was still seething over the death of my 𝐿𝐵𝐻, wanting to spill the blood of whoever did it to her. If there was one for sure thing about me, it's that I'm very protective of my pack members, especially if I train them hard every day. It just pisses me off that a weakling human hunter managed to get through our grasps and murder one of us in cold blood. Growling, I promised myself that I would return the favor. "Dude, chill." A voice reached my ears and I looked up, growling at Luke, who only rolled his eyes. "You're in the chair." I confirmed his words when I looked down to see that my claws were freighted the chair, leaving scratches and holes. Groaning, I knew Lily would kill me. She was strangely devoted to the perfect image of this house. Luke sighed. "There's nothing you could have done." Chase, sending him a glare. I shook my head. You don't get it. She told me there was a hunter. I tracked down her scent, but it kept getting tangled, switching directions. How the hell does something like that happen? Exactly. It doesn't. So something really messed up is going on. And I need to figure this out. Looking up at my beta, I noticed the stiff way he stood, a grim expression on his face, the way he always looked when he had to deliver bad news to me. Groaning, I ran a hand down my face. What's wrong now? Alpha Beckett called just 10 minutes ago. He checked in on 𝐊𝐢𝐧𝐼𝐴 pack and found them all massacred. The pups were all killed in a fire. No one survived. Lou cancered. My stomach dropped. 𝐊𝐢𝐧𝐼𝐴 and his pack. They're all dead. Luke nodded, slumping back in my seat. I shook my head in disbelief. When I took the Alpha title, Jake was the one who'd call me all the time, checking in to make sure everything was going well. He was like the big brother I never had. The one who showed me all the ropes to everything about being an alpha, to running a successful pack. Now 𝐊𝐲 dead. Was it hunters? Was the only thing I said, instead of saying how I really felt. In the alpha of the strongest pack, I can't show any weakness. Luke nodded. Yeah. And guess what the weapon of choice was? Narrowing my eyes, I thought back to Michaela's corpse, an arrow sticking out of her side. I growled. A bow and arrow. He nodded once more in confirmation, and I kicked back the chair in anger, and it shattered against the bookshelf. But I didn't even flinch. Furious, I threw the desk lamp across the room, gripping the edge of the desk and leaning over it. I looked up to Luke. I'm going to find that son of a bitch and kill him. Agreed. Luke spoke with caution, ready to book it at any moment if my temper went too far out of control. Everyone knew to get out of an angry alpha's way. The only thing that could calm an alpha down in his mate. Haley, he spoke again, breaking me out of my trance. But first I think you need to loosen up and relax. I raised an eyebrow at him and he gave me a half smirk. There's a party tonight. No, was my gruff response. He rolled his eyes. Oh, come on. Everyone is going. I knew Lily and Rebecca are dragging along that new hot girl. Haley or whatever. She seems like she'd be a lot of fun. Plus you looked pretty love-struck when you looked at her, growling at the way he talked about her. I sped over and pinned him up against the wall by his throat. My wolf taking control. Don't you ever talk about my mate like that. His eyes widened. Shit, man. I didn't know she was your mate. Regaining control. I let him go. Upset. Running a hand through my hair. I whirled back around to face him. You can't tell anyone. I'm not ready for everyone to know. I'm not sure if I'm going to accept her. He furrowed his eyebrows. Why? Because she's human. I shook my head. It's not like that. I don't know. Well, I know that you need to go to this party. He took a step off of the wall. And get wasted. Taking in a breath. I nodded. You're right. Only booze can fix this right now. Luke laughed and slapped my back as we walked out of the partially destroyed office. Hell yeah, man. With Luke's words in mind that Haley was most likely going to be at the party. I wore a tight black V-neck tee, shirt that defined my muscles, paired with a pair of dark wash jeans and black Converse. God, the things this girl was doing to me. I was actually dressing nicely for a party. What was going on with my goddamn mind right now? I heard Lily running into the house, squealing into her phone to Rebecca about the party tonight, and I stepped out from my room to stop her in the hallway. She paused and spoke before pulling her phone away from her ear. Hang on. Becca. My brother's actually dressed nice, again, rolling my eyes at her immaturity. I folded my arms over my chest. Are you going to the party tonight? She nodded, and mocked my position, folding her arms as well. Of course I am. You big BAFO on of a bumbling idiot. With who? I questioned. Lily raised her brow at me. Why so curious, twin brother? But if you really must know, I'm going with Rebecca and Josh. Owen, we're going over to Haley's house. You know, the new girl from lunch. You would love had other classes. But you ditched yesterday. Seriously, you need to stop that. But anyways, we're going over there to see if she wants to come too. Withholding the urge to tell her to stop adding an important details that I didn't ask about. I nodded. All right. You have permission to go. She raised her eyebrows and laughed. Chase, you're older by 5 minutes. You can't pull the overprotective big brother card on me. With that, she walked past me and into her room. And I knew she was sure to be in there for 2 hours, just trying to find the perfect outfit. But she shocked me and walked right back out with a bag in her hands. She winked at me before skipping down the stairs and calling over her shoulder. Later, waving her off, I sighed and followed her trail out the door, but instead got into my car, driving to the party. When I got there weren't many people. It had just started, but on the bright side, I got to grab a beer while it was still cold. Chugging it down, I smiled at the familiar burn. 2 hours later, the party was in full swing, people grinding on each other, laughing, drinking, 2 idiot girls stripping on the bar who were sure to regret it tomorrow when they saw the pictures. But I was still bored out of my mind and only on my 3rd beer. I was taking it slow tonight, and I wasn't sure why, but I just wasn't in the mood to get drunk off my ass like usual. An intoxicating scent hit my nose and I looked over to the door to see Lily and Rebecca flanking Haley, who stirred emotions deep inside me, and I was suddenly overwhelmed with so many emotions. But I could pick out the strongest to anger and lust. Chapter 7. 𝐊𝐢𝐬𝐩. Come on. Haley, Lily shouted, flopping down on my bed. Please. I rolled my eyes and shook my head. No, I'm not much of a party girl. Rebecca gave me a pointed look. That is seriously the most pathetic excuse I've ever heard. Now get off your ass and get ready. We're going to a party. Nice try, I complimented. But no, Haley freaking Argent. We're going to this party tonight and that's final. Lily squealed, making me jump in surprise as her sudden outburst. Just then David poked his head into my door, glaring at me. Shit. Haley, just go to the goddamn party and get out your annoying the hell out of me. I grinned at him. Love you too. David. He just flipped me off as he left the room. Lily raised her eyebrows. And who the holy hell is that? That would be my uncle. I told them. 𝐻ES, my legal guardian. Rebecca stuck her tongue out at Lily after saying, Yes, oh, pause off. Oh, ha, very funny. Becca. She rolled her eyes in response and sprang up from the bed. Okay, so now we need to find you a smoking hot dress to wear. Because Chase is going to be there. I furrowed my brows. What does that have to do with anything? Oh, please, honey. I'm not blind. I saw you two giving each other googly eyes on your first day during lunch. It was disgustingly adorable and I nearly threw up. She stated as a matter of factly, still digging through my closet. Coming up with nothing. All of my dresses were loose and floral, and apparently not party appropriate, whatever the hell that means. Finally, she gave up and I grinned internally. Oh, bummer. I don't have anything to wear. I guess I can't go. Lily shook her head. Don't be silly. I brought you a dress of mine just in case. My face dropped. You've got to be kidding me. She pulled out a little red dress that was practically just a shirt. It was that short. My jaw dropped. No way in hell am I wearing that. Becca. Lily turned to her best friend. Hold her down. And so they literally held me down and wrestled me and forced me into the dress, as well as into 𝐿 4-inch matching red heels. They painted my lips with the same red and tugged my hair, straightening it and giving my eyes a smoky look. I looked like the biggest slut in the entire world. I groaned, looking in the mirror. But no, I stand corrected. As I looked over to Lily, I found her in an even more showy dress, tight and black and leaving practically nothing to imagination. She rolled her eyes at me. Honey, that dress is actually pretty damn modest compared to what every other girl wears. Well, what about Rebecca? I questioned, gesturing to her modest long-sleeved, flowy navy blue dress. Lily shrugged. Josh has anger issues and doesn't like it when Becca shows too much skin. Sounds like an unhealthy relationship. I muttered, knowing full well they'd hear me it was a werewolf thing. I also knew that Josh and Rebecca were mates, thanks to Lilith's partial slip-up when we had first introduced ourselves. So it only proved how possessive males are over their soulmates. I say that whole idea is a load of bullshit. Let's get going, Lily exclaimed, dragging me downstairs while Rebecca chuckled. Coming up behind me, be home by 2. David shouted as we left the house. But I knew it meant if you're not home by 2 I'm coming after you and killing everyone that gets in my way, and I don't care if it blows my damn cover. I agreed and was then shoved into a car, and we were on our way to the party. It was supposed to be a killer party, apparently, and when we got there, what was said about it was proven true. You could hear the pounding bass of the music all the way from outside, and I couldn't imagine how loud it would be for the werewolves here. Once again, I was yanked along by Lily and we made our way up to the front door, doing our best to ignore the drunken couple staggering around, fiercely making out as though their lives depended on it, though I was sure come tomorrow morning they'd definitely regret it. Lily was on my right and Rebecca on my left when we walked into the house. The music was even louder here, the house practically shaking. I could hear a legitimate DJ and my eyes wide and at the realization of how ridiculous this party is. This is insane, I'd exclaimed, turning to Lily. She smirked and winked. I know, shaking my head, with a smile on my face nonetheless. I scanned the room, not really sure what or who I was looking for until I made eye contact with Chase, the alpha. And let me tell you, he looked pissed. He was staring me down, an angry and intense look on his face, but I could see traces of lust as he stared at me. Hiding my blush, I turned to the girls. So, drinks? Hell yeah, Lily squealed, but Rebecca just shook her head and ran over to Josh, planting a sloppy kiss on his lips, and I nearly gagged. There was way too much PDA here, so that left the 2 of us to head into the kitchen and crack open a couple bottles of cheap beer, tipping it back and letting out a breath as the familiar burn hit my throat. I was definitely used to the whole alcohol thing, and it was a new concept. I knew it'd take me 3 beers to get tipsy and 7 to be full-blown drunk. And when I'm drunk, I'm a rambunctious disaster. Lily easily downed her beer, and I noted it as a special werewolf ability. They have an extremely high tolerance for alcohol. I'm not even entirely sure if they can get drunk or not. Hey, little sister. A deep voice rumbled, and I looked up to see Chase walk in. Naughty. She just rolled her eyes at him, knocking back another beer. He glanced over at me, his eyes raking up and down my body, that look of lust appearing in his eyes once again. Finally, his eyes met my awaiting ones, with my eyebrows raised. He smirked. Haley, holding up my beer at him. I just took another chug, relishing in the sting that I haven't gotten to feel in a while. Lily, you're dancing with me. Luke, Chase's best friend in beta, as I had recently learned, grabbed her hand and dragged her out of the kitchen. Assholes, I thought to myself as they left Chase and I alone. He approached me and gave me a pointed look. What the hell do you think you're doing wearing a dress like that? My eyebrows shot up. Excuse me, it's way too showy and downright slutty, he stated, voice rough, and I could tell he was restraining himself from growling at me. He cowed and gave up the secret that he was a werewolf now, because to him, I was just a normal human. But the way he was talking to me, acting as if he controlled me, pushed me over the edge. First of all, your sister was the one who literally forced me into this dress and even coming to this damn party in the first place. I snapped. And secondly, you don't tell me what I can and cannot do. Okay, sweetie. Oh, and next time, I recommend a more discreet way of checking me out. Pushing past him, I made to leave, but he grabbed my wrist, pulling me back, and I crashed back into his chest. He looked down me with so many emotions swirling around in his eyes. You're killing me, Haley. Tingles coursed deep through my body, and I shivered at the way my name so perfectly rolled off his tongue. W, what are you talking about? I stuttered, lost in his piercing blue eyes. I mean, every single guy that was already occupied here wants you, and it's really pissing me off. He grunted, his hands placed firmly on my waist. Now I was confused. I furrowed my eyebrows. Why? He lowered his head a little as if he was about to kiss me. Because right now I want you all to myself. Chase leaned in, about to kiss me, when we were suddenly interrupted and jumped apart. Nick was the one who had stopped anything from happening. Chase, I need you to take me home. Something came up. His voice was urgent, and his eyes kept flickering from me to Chase's as though trying to send a silent message. Werewolf business. Most likely. Chase grunted. Fine. The two walked out of the kitchen, but Chase stopped before he was fully gone and turned back. Oh, and Haley. Babe. Next time wear something a little less tempting. A blush crept up on my face as he called me babe, but I just rolled my eyes at him, freezing on the spot. A realization hit me. 𝐊𝐢𝐬𝐧. Don't blush. I am not the girl to easily swoon over someone or feely and giddy when a boy holds me. No, I'm stronger that. Groaning. I was beginning to see that this mission might be a little more complicated than I thought it was going to be. Especially with whatever the hell this thing was between Chase and I. If there is anything at all. Chapter 8. You better have a damn good reason for interrupting that. I growled at Luke. The thoughts of my proximity with Haley were playing on a constant loop in my head, forcing me to readjust my jeans. He nodded as we continued to walk into the woods. One of the wolves on patrol found them. The hunter has struck again. I clenched my fist and a growl ripped through my clenched teeth. Show me. Luke led the way through the woods, and as we got near, I could smell their blood, letting me know who it was. All emotion fell off of my face as we finally got to the side of two dead wolves, lying on the forest floor, blood circling their heads. Recognizing the smaller light brown wolf as one of the pups in the pack, I dropped to my knees, glancing over at the other wolf. They were Lewis McDonald and his older sister, his legal guardian, Olivia McDonald. Lewis had just shifted a few months ago, Olivia in the process of training him. I considered them my family. They stayed in the house with Luke, Lily, and I. I couldn't do anything to stop the tears that flowed out of my eyes. This was the worst way for them to go, the same way their parents did. Chase, look. Luke pointed to the arrow in Lewis' head, shorter than the one that protruded from Michaela's stomach when it found her the other day, probably from a crossbow rather than a bow. But that wasn't what was important. Olivia was killed with a bullet to the head. A gun. Lewis with a crossbow. Most likely. 2 different weapons. Around the same time. Alpha. I think there are 2 hunters. I nodded. It would make sense. I thought. Maybe there were even 3 hunters. For all 3 different weapons. Or perhaps there was just one hunter, trying to make us more nervous. To scare us. The only thing they have managed to do thus far is piss me off. When we find them, and we will find them. I addressed him, looking back down at Lewis and Olivia. I'll be the one to kill them. Do I make myself clear? Of course. Luke nodded, looking down to the 2 deceased members of my pack as well. I turned on my heel, stalking away from them and trying to hold back all of the emotions that were flooding me. I felt guilt. Pain, anger, hurt and sadness. In all honesty, all I felt like doing right now was either cry or being with Haley. But considering I can't be with her like I wish I could, I just have to fight both of those urges for now. A single tear betrayed me as I dropped down my cheek, but I quickly wiped it away, making sure it went unseen. I'm not sure who would have seen it, but I know that I'm an alpha, and alphas cannot be weak. Not alone and not with their pack. We have to remain the strongest out of everyone. School sucks. I sent to Luke, who was sitting next to me at the lunch table. Lily and Rebecca were fawning over Haley, as was I in secret, while Josh just gave a look of adoration to his mate. If I'm on an honest streak, I might as well admit that I envied the happiness that came with Josh and Becca's relationship. They had it so easy. Luke responded instantly. Tell me about it. If Josh gives Becca one more kiss, I might kill them both. I accidentally laughed out loud, causing everyone to look over at Luke and I, clearing my throat. A sheepish look made its way onto my face. Sorry, Luke told me a joke. Oh really? Haley was the one to speak. Funny. I didn't hear it. I said if Josh gives Becca one more kiss, I might kill them both. He clarified for her and she cracked a smile. Josh only rolled his eyes before planting a fat, sloppy kiss on his mate's lips, just to spite him, and I barked, no pun intended, out a laugh in response to this as well. Haley laughed too, and as everyone was looking away, I gave her my usual smirk I used on all the girls and threw a wink her way. Her face flamed red with a blush and she was saved by the bell and stood up to throw her lunch out, Lily right behind her. My sister groaned. I really don't want to go to Kim. Tell me about it. Haley frowned. It's the death of me. Lily shrugged. At least we get to be tortured together. Realizing that Haley was most likely in my chemistry class, seeing as I was in that class with Lily as well, I decided to bail on my plan of ditching the last half and actually go to class. Walking up from behind them, I slung my arm over both of their shoulders. So we're going to chemistry. My twin sister's eyebrows shot up. Oh my god. You're actually going to your afternoon classes? Yeah. I answered, furrowing my brows in the opposite direction of hers. I could feel Haley wriggle under the weight of my arm and dropped both of them from the girl's shoulders. Is there a problem with that? The problem is that I think you're mental. Are you sure you're okay? She asked, feeling my forehead with the back of her hand as if to check if I had a fever. Rolling my eyes, I smacked her hand away. I'm fine. Now are we going to chemistry or not? Shit. We can't be late. She screamed, taking both Haley and his hands and dragging us down the halls to chemistry. We arrived in the nick of time, just as the bell rang, and I nearly laughed out loud when the teacher's eyes bugged out as she saw I was actually in class, stealing Lola's seat next to Haley. I gave her a smirk and she grinned sweetly, walking to the chair behind me and sticking a pencil into my side, gritting my teeth to stop the hiss. I yanked it out and stuck in my pocket quickly so that Haley wouldn't see. It would be pretty hard to explain a pencil being stabbed into me and me just pulling it out easily without a single mark there. Well, if she knew werewolves existed, it wouldn't be that hard. But she was just a human with no connections to my world, which basically sucks ass. As the afternoon went on, I discovered that she was in all of my afternoon classes, and last period we were the only two people from our lunch table in there, which I had to admit excited me. It would be the only alone time with her. At least, hopefully, for now.